Hey, Joe Vizio here. Figured I would, got just a short drive to my next place, so, I figured I'd make a, little short video here. As I have been, getting into some issues with my mother. I did 4 parts of Mommy Dearest, and I'm sure I got enough to do a part 5. I'm sorry, it is a bit dark. Well, it's dark outside. I do have a little bit of an overhead light on, this way you can see that it is a human talking. So, my mother's definitely a victim of abuse herself. She definitely played her own game. She definitely bonded more with my sister. I mean, she always told me that, all she ever wanted was to have a little boy. But, there was a lot of games played. And part of it has to do with, my sister was a very, very, and still to this day is a very good manipulator. My sister is a person that not only suffered from narc abuse, but she is a abuser herself. And even with some of the relationships she's been in, 2 marriages, it's always with somebody that she feels like she could dominate. She dominated my mother. She tried to dominate me a lot when I was a kid. I didn't dominate so easily from her. I fought back with her a lot of times, but she was a lot more cunning than what I was. She was, or should I say, cunting than what I was. And she always had the angle to be able to get me in trouble before she would. And a lot of my sister was a golden child. She was the first one born. I've told stories of I think it was in part 1 of this. I was a blonde-headed kid that, people didn't even think that I was my father's. People never really bonded with me, and it's been that way through really my whole life. My grandmother, who was a very she was there in the family always. If there was one person that was part of the centerpiece of my family, my grandmother was right in there. Whereas a lot of people, grandmom and grandpop are someone that you just go and visit. Was more than that with my grandmother. And I guess part of that is that my father felt like he needed to take care of her, because I guess he felt like maybe she didn't take very good care of him, or she did, but she spoiled him. As my father's father was never in the picture. I met my father's father one time. I was probably 12 years old, somewhere around there when I met him. So the whole family really kind of felt that way towards my sister, and I had said, I was a kid looking out the window at the taillights as my sister's going to another sleepover at, an aunt's house or my grandmother's house, and and I was the one that was kind of, left behind. I was a hyperactive child, I was a mama's boy. I guess I had a little bit of a separation anxiety with her. People just, they didn't want to deal with me. And I guess, my mother kind of got that way too. Because, my sister, really could do no wrong. And, I was the fuck up. My mother thought that I had something wrong with me when I was a child, to the point where, they used to take me to psychiatric counseling. And the first place I remember going was a place called Friends Hospital up in Philadelphia. And if you're up that way and you know where Friends Hospital is, you know what it is. Friends Hospital was a low security insane asylum. They did all sorts of aspects of mental health, but one of those things is that they had a minimum security mental health facility there. That's where I went. And I'll never forget that first visit. The doctor took my mother and my father back in their room first, and I guess, to find out why they think I needed to be there. And I was sitting there in the waiting room, and I noticed that the people that were around me had their fucking hands and feet shackled together. I was scared. And I think one of the people that were in there, could see that. And he kind of shimmied his way over to me. And, and he was smoking a cigarette. And, mind you, this is a time where, you could smoke anywhere you fucking wanted to smoke. So he was smoking a cigarette. And I was sitting on the chair, and he kind of leaned up against this planter thing that was built into a wall made out of brick. And he's kind of leaning there, and he looks at me, and I remember he asked me, he says, "What are you in for?" I didn't know what that was. I was 8, 9 years old, somewhere around there. I was in that house up in the Feltonville, Olney area, in which I lived there from 1980 to 1985, I believe. So, I was anywhere from 6.5 to maybe 12 years old, 11 years old. That's 11 years old. And I think I was probably like 8 or 9 years old. I didn't know what to say to this guy. And I didn't say anything, if I remember correctly. He said to me, he goes, "Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be okay." And right about that time, I remember thinking, oh, thank God, because, here come my parents walking out of the room with the doctor. And then, of course, the doctor had pulled me back into the room to talk to me. from what I remember, and from what my mother told me about this, because my mother blamed this on my father, she said that the hospital said that there was nothing wrong with me. And that they didn't, accept me in there as one of the patients, and that I should go somewhere else. I mean, I guess that was according to my mother. But like I said, she kind of has her way of kind of passing blame on to other people, so she don't have to feel guilty about something that she's done, or I don't know. But from that point forward, my sister kind of gave me a nickname, and it did kind of stick with my mother, because my mother used it a few times. That would call me retard. And my sister used it more often and stronger than what my mother used it. My mother just would use it in the context, if I had done something, she would just tell me to stop acting retarded, or stop having a retard fit, also known as an idiot fit. It is what it is, I guess. But I did had a lot of things like that going on. I remember one time, this will be my last quick story before I go into this next place, which I'm looking for it now. It's going to be my first time here, as this is a new account. My sister didn't want to go see my father anymore. And I guess she was deemed to be at the age where she can decide for herself if she wants to go visit her father. I didn't have a choice. I had to go. And, before, we always had this thing, where we took these family trips over to this lake up in New Jersey, Cedar Lake. And, I noticed, we just really didn't go anymore. Sometimes would go with my father on my father's weekend with us. And sometimes, when we were home with my mom would take us. But I just noticed that we weren't going anymore. Until one time, when and I was telling you about that the house that they bought and was going into foreclosure, and my mom's brother was trying to buy it so that he could flip it. And well, anyway, I was there. I was at that house, and my sister had let something come out about going to the lake, and which I was just absolutely shocked, because I was left out. And I said, oh, well, when you go to we go to the lake when you're with your father. I was pissed. And I remember I had like a pair of scissors in my hand, and I threw the scissors down on the floor, and I started yelling at my mom. And yeah, of course it all got blown up, because my uncle and his wife started yelling at me because I threw the scissors, and how dare I, you're going to damage the floor, you little fucking retard, and nothing ever come of that. But just, the next time I went with my father, and I asked my father's girlfriend's kids about going to the lake, and so happened that they were going to the lake on the weekend opposite that I was there, and it just, coincidence maybe. I don't know. It just seemed fucked up to me that, on the weekends that I was with my father was when my mother was going to the lake with my sister. And then the weekends that I'm with my mother, my father's going to the lake with the other two boys. And it's like, yeah, I know how that sounds, poor little boy. I mean, look, hey, I got nothing to gain by making this shit up. I have nothing to gain by making this up. It happened. So, anyway, I'm at the next place now. I don't know how long it's going to take me to do this place. This is my first time here. I'm going to be lucky if I don't fucking set the alarm off and have the fucking cops here and all that shit. But, we'll, when I come back, I'll just make another video, I guess, and keep doing this until, something breaks or, I don't know. Anyway, thanks for listening. You know the drill. I'm not going to keep repeating the same stuff, so I'll see you next time. Even if I am just talking to myself, I'll see me next time.